But Professor Bologna says that our challenge is, when I hear ideology, what is this thing they are teaching people? Patriotism, yeah, things like that. Yeah. Our challenge is lack of ideology, which makes everybody think can be a politician. With ideology, you protect your ideas, and those who do not fit in are thrown out. This is radical. Second challenge is that of poverty. Most politicians are poor and therefore cannot take decisions that are in the interest of the nation. The third one is politicians. All of them want to keep power in support of their ideology. If there is no ideology, those strong politicians will prevail over others. But he compliments you, Dr. Otaji. He says you're one of the best managers the country has had, but you are frustrated by pulling him down, that they actually pulled you down. I know we have a lot of ideas to share.
I am really surprised to find out on page 84, Professor Raya indicates that defense would get some 5%. What is the implication? A regime that will be power for months. Yeah, let us seriously not get back to the regime of the late Professor Binaisa and the others who have been there for just months. The trick is that you are not having security, you do not have anything. This is why I want to have a small comment to the fact that suppose there is no security, where would this and this be? There is no way. Let us make sure in the ideal Uganda, my contribution, we must ensure that security is there. This is why Uganda, in global security, what are these things? Uganda seems to be a player amongst the others. What is our view? Otherwise, this is a very wonderful title. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
One of the moderators gave a very good statement. He said, assuming Uganda started in 1986, where would it be? It is true the current regime was very relevant in around the first 10 years. It was very relevant, it contributed. But people who have done economics, before there is what they refer to as the law of diminishing marginal utility. You reach a point where you can't contribute beyond what you're doing. So I don't blame the president, but I think as far as I'm concerned, I refer to the president, I look at him as a bad leader. Why do I say a bad leader? If he was a good leader and he really had love for our country, he should have modeled or role modeled someone to succeed him. The question is, what is going to happen after he goes? Will he have sustained what he fought for or what they fought for? Is a question. So I think much as he's one of the pioneers of patriotism in Uganda, I think he's not a good patriot. He could be a patriot. There is nothing that has only advantages and disadvantages. But he could be a patriot, but to a great extent, I don't refer to him as a patriot for that. You look at issues like corruption in the country. Most of these issues in the country rotate about lack of patriotism. Leadership, there is no patriotism. You see someone swindling money that is supposed to be for HIV victims, importing expired ARVs. Then what do you have for your country? You are supposed to construct a road that has 2 lanes and you construct 1 lane. Go to the education system. They will say Ugandans, no one in the East African community wants to employ Ugandans. Fellow youths around here, I encourage you, don't get demotivated by statements that are made around. But why? I would say if the head is rotten, then you don't ask where the body is going. Look around. Everyone here has gone through the university system. You go in the university, a lecturer enters, never greets, never says hello. At some points I get demotivated, so demotivated by some, with all due respect, with some of the professors and doctors we have. They are supposed to be helping in a role model in society, capacity building, but the lecturer enters and starts economics, starts going through economics, statistics, starts going through statistics. You're not telling students you are lecturing, what is the relevance after a year? Are you getting employed? Are you joining the consultancy field? Are you doing the research? What is the statistics I'm lecturing you going? Where is it going to take you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. As I conclude, last but not least, I would also appreciate the efforts of Professor Baryamureeba. I came up with a small book, and I'm coming up with another book on patriotism. I just want to show Uganda the direction on how patriotism can be a great pillar for sustainable development. Much as we have been talking about development, but the development that is not sustainable in nature is not relevant to a country. Why would you build a building that is going to collapse in 10 years? Would it help the next generation? So I will give Professor Baryamureeba a copy, and maybe he's going to, because I came with only 2 copies, but I'm coming up with a new campaign to help students.
Thank you. I will send you the invoice for the commercial. But
be brief because we don't have time. I think the best time to write a book and you need to have a discussion is when you are no longer in government. Because many bright people have been choked because of public service. When we were in public service, I was in public service for 26 years. It is what they call the political imperative. For example, in health education, it is well researched that it is better to give interpersonal communication for people to change behavior. But politically, it is better to be on TV so that the minister can say, look, we're on TV every night, regardless of who reads it. And it is not very much that we don't have a good budget. The budget is not yet 15%, it's about 9%. But that 9 is not doing good. I'll give you 2 examples of what one can do to change the policy. Have you ever wondered why 90% of the people in the rural areas and yet all the specialist doctors are in Mulago? Why don't you take the specialist doctors and put them in the district hospitals, even the health centers? The people, that's where the people are. Then the young doctors can come to Mulago to learn for the few professors there. Have you also wondered why the government does not get 20 very, very good doctors and pay them 20 million shillings each and place them in Mulago and tell them that they should never leave Mulago? Every time they want to leave, you increase their salary, they stay there. Why are we going to Mulago to see a doctor and we end up in Kadik? So some of these policies are never implemented because there is this vicious cycle. The regime, the political regime is in power, but the bureaucracy is also in power. The permanent secretary must be seen to talk the language, otherwise he also loses his job. And because of that, it is vicious. In fact, when I was in government, when I was in the commission in the Ministry of Health, I was amazed at how blind we were when I got out. There are things you can never imagine are happening. We would go and say, we are doing very well, we have all these figures. Immunization, 90%, sometimes our immunization recovery was 102%. But you and I know that some children, some districts have no immunization. But if the president is going to give the State of the Nation address, which permanent secretary can dare tell him that immunization coverage has fallen? Lastly, I wanted to say one thing. The Baryamureeba was of this world should go to the president and say, President, I don't want a salary, but I want to be your advisor. I have personally told the president, he called me for something, and I said, Mr. President, I've been asking to be your advisor. I wonder why you can't be, because I'm a retired man, I have my own pension, I have my salary, I don't need his salary, but I want to advise him for the Ugandan sake. I think if we got 100 Baryamureebas advising this government, even if the government stays for an extra term, probably will do better than we're doing. Thank you.
that would make sense.
To us, you mentioned something about Ugandan graduates and other graduates not having employment skills, and most especially those who are qualified, who are passed highly with first classes, second class uppers. What is he trying to tell us? Is he trying to tell us that we should not work hard for the first class, we should not work hard for second class upper? And in that regard, maybe you should write to us a book that will help us to understand what we should do in order for us to have employability skills, in order for us to comfortably walk into an organization and know that we are going to be given these jobs. I think we should get a book that helps us as graduates.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ivan Kureta, a student at Utamu, and I have a vision for my country. Now, my fellow countrymen have been held in a kind of perception that is a puppet mentality. I would rather hold on to my job, hold on to what I have, and not tell the truth when things are going wrong. I would rather keep silent and let everything go astray and not say out the truth. Now trust me, my ideal Uganda is one that can go the extra mile, and see to it that things are done right, regardless of what goes down. Now most of us in our country are holding on to what we have, in that kind of lie that if I dare say something, I'm going to lose this. My perception of my country is we can be better than this. We can get a country where we are willing to go the extra mile and not hold ourselves back. I'd like to thank my professor for taking up the initiative and taking a bold step towards getting out of this puppet mentality. I would like to implore the rest of us to do the same. Thank you.
What is this animal you call soft skills? Where can one learn it from? In school, at home, in church, or through practice? And if from all those places, in what proportions do you think those places can contribute? And at what stage of life do you think one can pick them? Is there an age limit to the time when you can pick up soft skills?
Who, on balance of probability, give graduates who actually slightly better than the others? We can talk about that. So please have your first class, but make sure that you develop the soft skills that are needed by employers. And they were identified. There are more than 20. They are available. I can give them to you. And your recommendation, I think, should be captured by Utano and the universities which are represented here. They are teachable. It's only that the educational system concentrated on the hard skills and ignored these soft skills. I can give you an example. Attitude actually is repeated. Attitude, empathy, communication, and so on and so forth. So, at UTAM, I am already in charge of a class called Corporate Governance. I think I want to thank you. I think that was a stroke of a genius. Whoever recommended I should teach class. I'm teaching corporate governance myself. I don't know, anybody from corporate governance here? Yes. They are more. They are about 12. I'm teaching them the principles of corporate governance, and one of the areas I'm going to make sure that will be covered is teaching them the soft skills. They are available, we identified them, and they can be learned anywhere, anytime, regardless of sex and age, Mr. Okecho. They can be learned, they can be taught. In fact, Mr. Vice Chancellor, when it comes to teaching this class of soft skills, I will suggest to the deans that if it is possible, even students from other faculties and departments should come and attend these lectures. Thank you very much.
I agree with him that most of our politicians are very poor, and that's the biggest problem. You know, when you don't have money, the one who has money can't pay you to do anything. You remember when we were changing term limits, it was just 5 million shillings. Now, in the future, might change the age limit with maybe 10 million shillings. But you see, if we change the age limit from the current 75, it is unbiblical. So it is immoral. And if you look at what I told about the church, those are matters that belong to the church. So, I mean, religious institutions, they should be able to really campaign such issues. Because we can't swear by the Bible, the Quran, and do things that are not really acceptable in those very communities. So we need to ensure that our politicians are empowered. How? They always on loans, I don't know how they get empowered. Now, I want to go to the future doctor, Mugabe has 11. So you tell him that he did his math upside down. When we talk of percentages, they are not small percentages. 5% of the current budget is actually 750 billion shillings. If you calculate 5% of 10 trillion shillings, it is 750 billion shillings, which is way above what we are currently giving defense in the national budget. So we are not actually downgrading it. We only say instead of infrastructure like roads, energy, push them down and put what matters up there. That's what we are saying. Now, the other one I'd like to talk about is what you raised, because the others were comments about whether the book I'm going to launch, whether it is now a manifesto. No, it won't be. You see, when I was living in Makerere, you can go and check on the internet, New Vision and other papers. In my resignation letter, I said, within the next 2 years, I'm going to write 2 books. And I became a student of the university, but I've now organized writing 2 books. All I was saying that now that I'm out of public service, where you have to do a lot of things, working from 6 a.m. in the morning, 5 a.m. in the morning up to midnight, I now have a lot of time on my hands. I will do a lot of writing. So I feel that in the next 6 months, I can write another book. And I'm going to do that. But anyway.
Any thoughts on that? Because I think that's what you implied.
Any thoughts? Uganda is very relevant to the development of this country. We all have our competencies and cannot be good at everything. But when I told you there are some who are politicians and others are not. So you cannot say everybody is a politician, you know. You'll get it wrong. And actually I'll tell you, not every professor is an administrator. I've seen professors I've worked with who can't even look after poultry farm, and they are professors. You know? So, but what we are saying that we want a better country. Those who have capacity when the time comes, they should be able to come up. And anybody who's above the age of 35 and feels that they can actually handle certain tasks, they should come up. I encourage them. And for us, we are going to continue with the writing. So let me hand over the mic.
In 1967, I had an accident. And I was brought to Morocco for management medical. I spent 4 months at Morocco, and I ended up losing a leg. I was there. For the 4 months I spent at Morocco, every morning, and when I tell this story, people say, "But James, are you saying the truth, or you are simply speculating or simply confusing us?" Every morning, they would change my bed sheets. And after 3 or 4 days, they would change my bed cover. Every day, it's my father who was taking care of me for those 4 months. Every day would be given breakfast, lunch, and other drinks. I was getting 4 injections, almost 4 injections every day, because I had a bad wound. After the 4 months, we were sent back home. We are not charged even a single cent. And we were given a bus warrant. A bus warrant is a voucher which one would present to whichever company. And then through various processes, it will be cashed out. So we were given a bus warrant. And in the morning of the day we were leaving Mulago to go to Mbarara, the officers came to us and picked us and dropped us at the bus park in a hospital van. They handed us over, like that, to the inspector of buses, and then they took the bus warrant. We don't know what they did with it. Then one of the officers of the bus company came to us and said, "Now, Mzee and your son, come and sit here. When the bus is ready, we will come for you." And indeed, when the bus was ready at around 9, they came for us. And when we went in, it was only our 2 seats that were remaining, and we were put in a secure place and we sat. And we were dropped in Mbarara. Now, I don't know where those services have gone. If you ask me about patriotism, you ask about nationalism, you want to ask me about doing a good job as a leader, as a manager. When I look at that experience that I went through at 9 years, and when I look at what is happening now, actually when we were leaving, they said, "Now, young man, after after, let's be told Mosaic, after 6 months, you bring this boy back so that he can get an official leg. Today, if you go to Morocco, the orthopedic workshop is in shambles. There are no materials. You need to go there and see it yourselves. So there are many things that are disturbing. And this brings me to the question I have to ask. I don't know, I haven't looked at the book. I think the professor will give me a copy. I don't know how the book is looking at the element of love. Because I think the biggest problem that we have in this country is that we don't have love for ourselves, for our neighbors, for our children, and of course for grandchildren. Because sometimes we do things out of love for self, forgetting that actually the very things we are doing are going to hurt our children tomorrow. And for me, that is not real love. Someone who understands and practices love serves people because he knows that when he dies, his children and grandchildren must live in a certain situation. So this person is able to see 300 years, and plan for the country in terms of where we are going. So that even when he or she is not there, the people that will be there will say, our grandfathers were good people. They loved this country, they loved us, even when we never existed. So I'm looking forward to writers who can explore this possibility of instilling love and reminding us that really we don't exist for this generation. We don't exist for today. Our future will be judged on how our people, our children and grandchildren will look like in 200, 300, 500 years from now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm Director, Gender Mainstream Directorate in Makerere University. My question is on, I want to appreciate Professor Barya for his book. I've read it cover to cover. It's a dynamite. I want to thank the discussants for doing a justice to the book and for the passion and anger they expressed on the podium. We could feel it, and I'm convinced that you did a great job discussing the book. My question is on sustaining this momentum, because these are you're change agents, and you're shaking us up from our slumber, apathy, laid-back position, comfort zones, whatever you may call it. And I think we are lacking this kind of forums. I look on the TV these days and I'm shocked by the way, not even poor people, but even the rich are behaving, like the members of parliament. From my culture, we don't kneel down. So when I see these ministers, women, men, youth, all on their knees, wearing lips and saying all kinds of things, I wonder whether they're not mad. So I think the psychology, the way people are behaving shocks some of us, and we just watch and look on, but it's bordering to madness. And I think we need to create more of these forums to start the debate, get more angry, be shaken up, and really create some kind of serious agitation that will make sure this ideal Uganda or the alternative vision of leadership is shared with as many as we can, and we join forces to ensure that we at least not counted among those who will sit back and let evil thrive. Because it just takes a few people to allow evil to thrive, and it also takes a few people to bring about change. So that's my question. How do we sustain this positive momentum of alternative leadership?
Thank you, thank you.
About what kind of ideal Uganda you are expecting? Is it we shall see the best Uganda after the reign of Museveni only? forward as well a few prayers to have the IG Uganda. Thank you.
One of those few Ugandans, if not many, who are totally irritated with the kind of education system that we have. And I think the biggest percentage of why we have rampant youth unemployment is because of the education system. Now, I get worried because this is the system that was introduced by the colonialists with their own agenda. My question is, which I have failed to answer myself, the people who have been in leadership, don't they see that this education system has a problem? My second question is that I appreciate Professor Baryamureeba. The other day I was reading about him and I was like, wow, this is so breathtaking. I appreciate Mr. Patrick Wakida and Mr. Robert, Professor Robert, sorry. It is very true and evident that policy decisions in Uganda have become political tools. My concern is, just like you are discussing to us, because looking at Ideal Uganda, Professor Baryamureeba's perspective, there is quite a lot of hope that if these are taken into consideration, we can have a first world country in the years to come. Can there be a possibility of us having maybe a think tank sort of arrangement? A big researcher is with us. Professor Baryamureeba is a big brain. Professor Robert Mutaji himself, come to know him today, but he's also a big one. He's also a big one. Can't we have some kind of think tank arrangement such that people like this who are so experienced can influence policy decisions in this country? That is my
myself, of course, I'm a local Nigeria. I've had this on the way they can do that. And then the write-up has been communicated everywhere. If not got a copy, the legal officer or the MT should be in the position to get all the information what I'm talking about.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure that we're talking about a write-up that we are all aware of.
I think that the issue of corruption or the problem of corruption is societal. And this is how I'll take it down. When you're in school in primary, you look at your teacher stealing chalk and putting it in the pocket.
They're keeping it.
They still have to take it to the other school and probably do private work outside. During the time.
Which one?
No, I'm actually telling the truth. Okay. This is how I think corruption is embedded into our society. When you go to church, the tithe is given, but you actually never see the church moving a brick. When your dad is a public servant, you see me in the newspapers being accused of corruption. Okay? So what happens when we become private owners in business? We begin to try to get contracts. So when we get to the judges, you have a valid case, the judge is going to twist the law so that someone can win because he got something in the pocket. Now we go to school as students. We get to campus, okay, before we even go to campus, we're in primary and you're beating the queue to go and be the first to take the food. You get to campus, you want to steal exams. And at the end of the day, we're all claiming that corruption, corruption, corruption. Yet it is embedded within our society. So I don't think that there is a platform that can say, let's do this to finish the corruption. But I believe that it can start maybe within our own selves. Before you accuse a finger, you look at yourself. How did you actually get the contract for working on the road? When you look at the president, Barya said, I don't want to quote myself so that the guys in courts can follow me up. The parliament is bribed to make sure they pass a certain law. So who are we going to turn to? I think it has to start within ourselves so that we can eradicate corruption. However, we also have to punish the people who do that.
I'm an international business and management graduate. My questions are, what are the qualities of a good manager? What advice would you give a young professional aspiring to be a CEO in this economy? And lastly, because of our education system, we have been taught to be job seekers. How do we break from this stigma and become job creators to create more job opportunities?
I currently work at Sepla Chemicals Limited, and I'm and technology. I don't know why we go to universities and colleges and learn science and technology, but at times we fail to apply it. In most cases, if you go to learning, let me just give an example. Maybe there's something missing. Maybe it is the system, the education system, that may be responsible for that. Why is that people who are not educated to do the work are not doing it, yet other people are not, those people are not educated about the laws and principles can do that work very well.
Okay. I think it's very good to get proposals since you're, what school can we have? So can we be part of the solution? And I think somebody disregard whatever I said. So 5 minutes, we bring this to achieve the desires of your heart is to acquire 1, the hard skills, 2, the soft skills, like I did. And you start, actually I've already started. You start at home with your mom and your dad and siblings. You continue, you go through the school system. That one, it will be a function of a number of things, resources and opportunities and so on and so forth. For me, that's what I did. Like Professor, that's what he did. He started from home. I used to grow my own coffee. I grew coffee, harvested it, and paid part of my school fees in part of my education. Went through the education system, my first degree, postgraduate diplomas, master's degrees, and PhDs. And then I went through the educational system, junior officer, middle management, senior management, chief executive officer. And you can do the same. You don't have to be employed in the public sector. It's not there anymore anyway. Actually, I was the CEO of the Public Enterprise Reform and Diversity Secretariat, now PU, and I was responsible, unfortunately, for privatizing about 60% of the public sector. It was not my decision, it was the government policy. So there are no more employers. But if there is no employment, you can, as you have rightly said, create your own employment. In fact, now when we are teaching at UTAM, this is what we advise students. Don't study to be employed. Study to create employment for yourself. If you are studying whatever course you are doing and your mother is doing some business, a kiosk, selling charcoal, please join your mom, join your aunt, and so forth. Create business for yourself. Thank you very much.
But I'll touch on those areas where you have not said much. About my friend who was telling us about love, I think that's a very, very important point. About 2 days ago, I went to King's College and I was looking for my daughter there, and I could not find her. So I met the girl, asked her which class are you in. She told me senior 2. I said, what, she knows my daughter? She said, yes, she went to look for her. So when she came back, I gave her some money just to thank her. And the girl started crying. So I kept with her, and later on I found out she's one of those who is, I don't know what to call it, mistreated or something. They are not like given love at all. So when they ask for something, either you are beaten or something like that. So I think what is important, what we need to look at, this is something that belongs to the church and also within the families. So I think we need to see love within the families. We need to see the church promoting this issue of love. Because we talk about love one another and love yourself, right? Yeah. So, but we need to see it start at that level within the families. Again, this week we had a disciplinary meeting at UTAM. And there is a boy who is very radical and we have suspended him for a whole year. And it so happened that at home he was brought up when he was being beaten. They were fighting all the time. Some of the students are smiling, they know him. We have suspended him for a whole year. Like, the whole system is broken down. So I think we need to look into these issues. Right from the family, then the church, and then maybe even within the country. Now the issue of sustaining momentum in some of the ideas we feel that are good for the country, I think we can, as Ugandans, continue having debates. I see a lot of debate on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, workshops, seminars, you know, even TV stations, like I see my friend from NTV here. There are lots of debates. Is it the People's Parliament and so on? So we need to find avenues where we can sustain this debate on the issues we feel are good for the country. The other one, someone was asking about who are the stakeholders in Uganda. I think all Ugandans are stakeholders. We are all stakeholders in this. And I think if you are talking about what Uganda is all about, it's about the issues we feel we should have in this country if we are going to have a better Uganda. You need to visualize your Uganda. Like I told you much earlier, in 1994, everybody thought Rwanda was a failed state. But today there are so many things we admire about Rwanda. So many. You talk about cleanliness, you talk about zero tolerance to corruption, most of the things we talk about. Even now, quality education system. Many people are still thinking that Uganda actually is on top. But we are not. If you go to Rwanda and look at the education institutions, you look at the infrastructure, you look at the people they have brought in to lecture, you say, wow. You look at the health system, well, I don't want to be like somebody promoting Rwanda in Uganda. So, maybe that one and that. So, somebody said, what do we need to revamp our education system? We need to turn it upside down. We need to focus on the teacher, focus on the infrastructure, and even change the culture, even the curriculum. So we need to look at everything within our education system. And I put some ideas in the book. Can we have a think tank? That again takes us to the issue of how can we sustain the debate. And I think that's a very, very good thing. If you can have a think tank or think tanks focusing on different sectors. Education, you have health, you have, you know, all sorts of things, even gender, all those issues. Let's have think tanks, several of them. Corruption, you said everything. And I think I don't have to comment on what you have said. You said it the way it should be. And as I wind up, when we talk about job creators, again I put some ideas on how we can create jobs. But I think one thing I can say to you, you have said everything, is that you really have to have skills first. There are people who go through, and maybe they may say this one. I was telling somebody yesterday that one of the things we need to worry about most is that group of people who go through our education system without gaining anything along the way. I'll talk about the primary school level. There are so many Ugandans, more than 40% of Ugandans, they go through primary 1 up to primary 7, and they are empty. They have not acquired anything. Not reading skills, not arithmetic skills, nothing. They go through the system. When we talk about development, it's people who come from those communities that can develop those communities. I come from Uganda, so I'm proud to go there and do something for Uganda. Now there are some districts or schools in this country, some government, some private, that will never have a student in Division 4 at primary. Have not had for the last 10 years, and will not have for the next 10 years. And you expect that community to bring somebody for science or engineering. They can't. So when we even talk about scholarships, you need to also look at the humanities, because some of these schools will never bring a science student to study a science subject. So I think we need to look at these issues. But to me, I think let's continue with the debate in social media, in workshops, in think tanks, and I'm happy that some of you have stayed up to this time. I know Michael is time conscious, so he has to end the debate and he's in charge of that. I'll pass over the mic to my neighbor. After that, we'll pass it back to him.
Prof, I'm going to just summarize. To have a basis for argument, that you must have data behind your argument. It makes substance. The other day I was listening to somebody on radio. He said, you know, universal primary level enrollment is 1 million people. And he said that's a great achievement. But did you know that 70% of all the people who work in Uganda have only finished primary school? 70% of all the people who work in Uganda there are only about 400,000 Ugandans who have gone through university. Did you know that? And probably less than 3,000 have completed the PhD and master level. Very miserable. And if you didn't know, the current enrollment levels in secondary is at 23%. 23% of 100 means that universal primary education, in actual sense, has failed to a level of about 77%. Because if you have 100 and only 23 are joining, they are joining secondary levels, then there is need for you to worry about the education system you have. Of all those who enrolled in primary one in northern regions, their primary education, especially in Kotido, you have the completion rates respectively for district of Moroto, Nakapiripirita and Kotido at 20%, 11%, and 8%. But remember, this is part of Uganda. That is a question everybody must be asking himself and so. Well, those who framed universal primary education continue to celebrate. A critical look at it would give you a 76% failure rate. You are the ones who grades people. If you're failing at 76% and you're a lecturer and you're supervising a student and your students are failing at 76% rate, would you continue employing them, Professor? Thank you very much.
As I passed over the microphone at school, could not pass Senior 6 exam. So most of the teachers we have in our primary schools, and I want to challenge you, just ask your name when they are setting the exams. If they want to know the quality of teachers we have in primary schools, in secondary schools, let the teachers sit in the same room. They are given the exam, they sit and they mark them. You don't put anything on the paper to say this is the teacher. But let the papers come out and you know the failure rate of the teachers we have.
Love is one of the soft skills. Read Ephesians chapter 12.
Trying to be that Baryamureeba was the one doing this. Normally, you get a little bit strict, but I was like, let me allow this. And he knows that I'm moderating. There are things we quickly run through. But I think the debate has to go on, not just in the confines of these hotels and the walls that we hear. Let's continue talking about this, and each one of us has the potential to be that trigger that's going to make these things happen. What I can wish you is have a blessed night and safe travels to wherever you're heading to. And let's have the networking continue beyond this. Thank you very much.